Hey everyone! If you are a do-it-yourselfer and you've been thinking about hurricane shutters, if you live in a hurricane area, but the cost was just a little bit too expensive, you and I have something in common. As I was researching having a professional come out and install roll-down shutters on my home, I discovered that there's these companies that will fabricate them for you. All you have to do is send in the measurements, select the color and the style of shutter you want. They'll make them, you pick them up, bring them home, and do the installation yourself. If you can use a hammer drill, if you're handy, you can save quite a bit of money. I was really surprised how affordable it is doing it yourself. The shutters are ready today. I ordered them about 3 weeks ago. It's about an hour-and-a-half drive to go get them. I think I'm going to be able to show you a factory tour of the place where I bought them, and then we'll pick it up back at the house and we'll do the full installation. So let's get to it. I did 13 windows. I was going to do a door, but I decided to just replace the door with a hurricane door rather than put a roll-down shutter on it. It just made more sense, and it was actually cheaper. But here we are picking everything up. So all of the shutters fit in a long bed F-150. That's what this is. And I'm not going to recommend this company. I'm not going to recommend any company. I'm also not going to show you the process of doing the measurements and getting them the measurements. You really need to figure out that for yourself and work with the company that you choose, because some of them add ½ inch, some add an inch. It's really, you really have to ask. I had to go back and forth with them to get them to cut them exactly to the measurements that I asked for. Because originally the contract said they upped everything by like an inch, and I didn't want that. I wanted the rails to be right up against the sides of the windows. I wanted it to look really neat. So anyway, check all that out with whatever company you choose, but they're all basically the same. They order these materials from some company, and then all they do is cut them to fit and assemble the rack or the side or the fittings that hold the thing together. The situation I had with this particular company is they drilled some holes too small, and they had to send me a bit to ream out the holes. They skipped on some supplies, so I was halfway through the installation and I ran out of stuff. But they sent me everything. Oh, and then there was one shutter that was just totally the wrong size. But they were really good about sending me everything. Shows just how much money they're making because they discounted it and they sent me a bunch of stuff at no charge. But this is what to expect when you get them if you pick them up yourself. If not, you have to have them shipped on a pallet, which was actually pretty expensive. So let's get into the actual installation, which is what this video is about. All right, here's what you get. You get 2 rails, 2 uprights, uprights. These will go on either side and hits the track for where the shutter runs. The top is bent. It's really very obvious. They come plastic wrapped. I've already unwrapped those. Then you get a shutter lid or box. So this right here is the box. This is a 7-inch box. You get an 8-inch box or whatever size is appropriate for how much room you need inside the box to fit your roll-up. And then you get a roll-up shutter. And this right here is the roll-up shutter. And there's one other piece, and that is the bottom track if you need it. The bottom track is the same size as the box, and it's what the bottom of the roll-up shutter rests against. So this is everything that you need with the exception of the screws. So let me show you how this stuff is wrapped. I'll unwrap it real quick. And what I was doing is unwrapping one of them and then I go install one of them. And then I'd unwrap one of them and go install one. And what I've been doing now is just unwrapping all of them and kind of positioning them. You do need to pay attention to what box goes with what shutter, because if there's a slight difference in the size of the box, you might not notice it, depending on how long this shutter is. So they do a really good job wrapping them. You know, I didn't have any damage in transit. They're bubble wrapped, and then they are like cellophane wrapped on the end to keep them together. And obviously you got to take some care to not cut the, scratch the powder coating. Alright, that's all there is to it for the roll. The roll has to be pretty much unwrapped and then rewrapped in order to get it down into the box. I'll show you that later, but this is ready to go outside to the window. And the box has a little bit more to do as far as unwrapping. So the bubble wrap is the easy part. Each of these panels are wrapped with a clear plastic that it's just time consuming to get off. So there's tape here on either end, and these have been sitting in my garage for about 2 weeks now, and what's happening is the tape is leaving a residue here. You can see it leaves this sticky, so I've just been shooting it with some Goo Gone, and by the time I get the rest of it unwrapped, it's pretty much ready to clean up. If these end pieces were covered in the same plastic that the other panels are, the sticky wouldn't matter. Okay, so then you have two pieces. Once you get all the tape off, there's one more piece of tape. So you got two pieces. You have this panel and then the actual box. Okay, so peeling this cellophane off is just time consuming. It doesn't want to all peel off at the same, it rips. If you've ever bought a piece of stainless steel, this same type of clear plastic that's wrapped on it. Alright, that's all there is to it for the cover. The box is more of a pain because it's got all these curves on it. So you just have to get it started. And once you get it started, just slowly work your way. I found that it's easier to just tear off the two backs, these two sides, and then worry about all of this later. Along this lip right here, this is where the cover slides in. So you just have to get it off of the front. It doesn't really matter anything that's down in there. You'll never see it, and I think it actually helps to hold the metal in this little groove if you leave this in there. literally just standing here, unwrapping them, sweating my ass off. Okay, the first thing you do is take the bottom brace and drill the holes in it. I just went in 3 inches from each side and eyeballed it for the middle. 3, and then 16 is the middle, actually 16 and a half. So there you go. Drill these out and you're ready to mark it on the wall. The next thing you need to do is drill holes in the back of the box. So the box sits on the wall like this. You need 4 holes in each corner. I'm going to put one in the top middle. Actually, I'm going to put one in the top and the bottom here. The bottom one is so that you can just get it up there so that it'll stay. And the top, you know, these out here is what holds it in place. So there's really no real science here. You just drill the holes and you're just going to transfer the hole marks to the wall with a Sharpie. You do need to make sure that you're able to clear this roller with whatever tool you use. I use a impact driver with an extension right here, so I can get in there easily, no problem. And when I drill the holes, I drill them at a slight outward angle. For the top ones, I can go straight down on these on the bottom of the roller, but the top I need that clearance. And the reason why you have to pre-drill these is, you know, you can't get a drill in there. The reason why you have to mark them is what I'm trying to say, is because you can't get a drill in there to just drill them where you need them. So this is now ready to bring out to the window. So the tools that you may want to have are as follows. This is just the tools that I have. You know, you can do it with less tools, but just to be easy, you'll need a concrete bit. This is a hammer drill, so it makes it easier. I'd say this would be impossible to do without a hammer drill. So anyway, concrete bit, hammer drill. You'll need a, you can do a screwdriver or a drill, but I use an impact driver, and you'll need 2 bits. One is the correct size for the fasteners that hold the track and the hood and the base on. And then the other one is a Phillips head, because you'll have these screws here that I'll show you in a minute. So impact driver works really well for that. Then you'll need a regular bit to drill the holes in the track, base, and then in the back of the box. You'll need ear protection, because this sucker will rattle your brain. Tape measure. And then I have a blower, and you'll see what I do with that. It blows all the dust out really conveniently. So you could use a hose, but the blower works really good. Here's the other pieces that you'll get with the kit. So you get the turning thing, you know, that makes the awning go up and down. You may have to trim this length. If it doesn't go in all the way, you just cut that off with a hacksaw. You get the fasteners that go in the track. Whatever the company that you choose to buy these from, they're all the same. Whatever you decide, whatever they supply. Then there's another set of fasteners with a wider head to hold against the thinner sheet metal of the base and the awning. I mean the hood, box, whatever you call it. You'll have 2 fasteners that hold this in. They go in there like that. So 2 of those. You have 3 fasteners that hold the roll-up shutter to the drum. You'll see that. You get 3 of those. And then you've got 4 fasteners that hold the cover on the box. You'll see where those go. And all of these are self-tapping. Little drill bit on the end makes it super easy. So that's everything that you should need. The only other thing that's supplied is these little caps that go in the holes on the tracks. And then you can caulk in the sides if you want. I probably won't, but I have seen that done. So here's everything outside, ready to go. Ladder and window. I'll set up the tripod and show you how this goes. The first thing I'm going to do is measure the bottom so that I can install the bottom plate. The bottom plate will hold the uprights in position if you're doing this by yourself, and as long as this bottom plate is level, you're pretty much going to get everything else level. So all I'm doing is marking the middle, and remember I already did the holes, so I'm just trying to get the thing, I marked the middle of the piece of metal, and I marked the middle of the wall, and now I'm just going to line them up, and then I know that I'm centered. You can see I came down a ½ inch, and that's because that's how I measured them. I measured for a ½ inch on the bottom and a 1/4 inch on either side, and when they were adding an inch, like I mentioned, it would make the cover look too big. So just drill the hole. I do the middle one first here, and I'm telling you, ear protection, if you're doing a job like this, I ended up doing like one a day, and it took me a month to put them up because, it's in Florida, it's so friggin' hot, and I figured, you know what, I'm going to take my time. I'm in absolutely no hurry. So I did one every couple days, and it took me a really long time. But when you drill the sides, there's like 10 screws down each side, and you're just on that hammer drill, and if you don't wear hearing protection, at least for me anyway, my ears just ring at night. So a little tip here on getting this thing level: put the middle one in first, don't worry about the outsides. Put the middle one in, get it level, and then go ahead and drill your holes. And you can see how pre-drilling all your holes is really the way to go, because trying to do everything right here on the side of the house is just it's just too difficult. You have to change out bits and everything. So went ahead and tighten that up, make sure it's still level, and all these are is Tapcons. Everything is put in with Tapcons. I didn't strip any. Actually, I take that back. I did strip a couple on the rails, but there are so many on the rails that it really didn't matter. These little windows where you can reach the uprights are really easy. You just slide the upright in there. The little tab that's bent out on the upright is designed to help the track feed down in. Anyway, you put the thing up there and just put that little center screw in. Drill that center screw or mark it. And here you're less worried about being level and more worried about lining it up with the window. So if your window is not perfectly square, just shimmy it so that it looks right, and it'll be fine. There's at least a ½ inch to an inch on either side of the tracks for the shutter to roll down, and it makes absolutely no difference. There's enough wiggle room in there that it doesn't even matter. So pretty much here I just marked the holes. I'm going to take it down again. And again, I have a different process for the bigger ones. I end up taping the rails to the box because like I said, as you see, I'm doing this by myself. I'll show you that process in a minute, but that was all there is to it. The little windows, the narrow windows, were so easy. All right, once we have those top holes drilled, and you can see on the windowsill there, I've got the screws ready to go. And once this middle one's in, the whole thing will not fall off the wall if you do it in this order. All right, and once again, all we're doing is drilling holes. So I lined up the rail with the edge of the bottom rail, the stop, whatever you call the thing on the bottom. And then I also eyeballed it to make sure it looked square with the window, which in some cases, like I mentioned, wasn't square. And then you just drill. So I drilled one of them. I'm going to get a screw in there so that the thing doesn't move around. And then the rest of them you just drill, and then you use the blower to blow the blow the thing out. What did I? Oh, I guess that bottomed out, and I didn't want to strip it. I bet there was too much powder in the hole, if you've ever experienced that. So these holes that you can see, the head of the screw would not fit in these holes. What I didn't show you is that I had to ream out every one of these holes to get, I'm sorry, the head of the screw fit, the little stopper thing didn't fit. So probably what happened was they were drilling so many of the larger hole in the front, because there's a larger hole in the front to get the head of the screw through, and then there's a smaller hole in the back. And the little plastic things wouldn't fit in probably 90% of them. And so they sent me this drill bit to ream them out myself, but it was just really a drag because their drill bit was probably so worn that it no longer was cutting the hole big enough for the little stopper thing. And the next step is to put the shutter in, and the bigger ones are really a pain, but these little ones are not. You have to re-wrap the shutter backwards from the way they gave it to you. And once you re-roll it backwards and you make sure that you've got the front side out, you just slide it in right, just like that, right above, and that's it. That's it. There's nothing else to it. It doesn't matter where it lays on that drum for now, but that's it. Unbelievably simple. So there's 3 straps that are on the top of the shutter, and all they are is little 3-inch pieces of aluminum that will easily wrap around that thing. And you can see I grab the middle one first as I get it positioned, and I pull it so that it'll kind of curl up in there and send one of those self-tapping screws right through the strap. And I'd say the only thing you really need to be aware of is you want the tension to be the same on all three. So you don't want to yank one down, and you just want the tension the same on all three. You also want to make sure that you don't pull it too far forward so that it won't lower all the way. None of this is very difficult to figure out when you're actually standing there doing it. So once you have all three of these straps on there, you want to stick the little thing in there, because you can't turn that drum without turning this. It's kind of a weird gearing thing in there. But anyway, you want to give it a couple turns to tuck those tabs up underneath and just really get it started, because what happened to me on a couple others was I didn't do this step, and the roll got too big. You follow me? So those tabs were hanging down, and the shutter was not laying right on the drum. It's about an inch that it made one side buckle out, and you get almost all the way up, and the shutter starts hitting the inside of the box. So you just want to take time to make sure that it's going to roll properly. So now we're going to put the cover on. There's only 4 screws that hold the cover in, because the whole top of the cover is held by this channel that is bent into the aluminum. And you just wrap it in, and here's a good example of how tight that fit is. Remember, I told you there's plastic left in the channel. That actually helped to keep the thing in place. And then you just put 4 screws in. You don't even have to really pay attention where. Because aluminum is this aluminum is so soft, these stainless steel self-tapping screws were just a dream. I mean, it just goes right in. If you're right-handed or left-handed, sometimes the screw would jump off because I'm less coordinated with one hand, right? But we're pretty much on the home stretch here. I mean, once this is put together here, the only other thing to do is stick the crank in, and then put all the little buttons in. So I should mention, see how this thing doesn't fit? So this company, they screwed up so many things that I figured they just didn't cut them to the right length. So I actually just went and cut this. I didn't need to do that. Half of the windows were so big that I had, I think, 9-inch boxes, and the other half of the windows was an 8-inch box, and I didn't realize that there were 2 sizes of these cranks, and it's not really, the only thing that's different is just the length of rod on the end. Fortunately, you can use the 8-inch in the 9-inch box, but you can't use the 9-inch in the 8-inch box. So anyway, once I cut the end off, it worked fine. And then the same self-tapping screws, you just position the thing. There is a up and a down. Whoop, see what I mean? With the coordination there, challenged. But anyway, the screws are just self-tapping. They just go right in, and really the only thing you need to do is eyeball it for cosmetics, so that it looks nice right on the side there. I did actually create a drill bit model of this rod. I just modified the end. I put a piece of stainless rod in the handle, because this actual handle is hollow. So you can step it down to something that'll fit in your drill, and then just cram it in there. And I actually secured it with one of those self-tapping screws. But if you set your, I didn't take a video of it, I wish I did, but if you set your drill bit at a reasonable torque, so you don't blow the gear out if it gets jammed, it's so easy to run around and do it with a drill. Highly recommend it. So if you remember, I only put in one screw on either side just to kind of hold them in place, because I wanted to make sure that the shutter moved up and down freely. And the other reason why you want to roll it up when you drill all your holes is because the edges of the shutter will fill up with concrete dust, and then it'll just drip mud every time it rains, because it's almost impossible to get it all out. So once the whole thing is rolled up, then go ahead and drill all your side holes and put in all your screws. And I'd test it again, make sure that nothing moved. Not that it would, but just for safe measure. And then you stick the little caps in, and you're done. All right, so that's what you can expect. Pretty easy. Now, I chose not to put the little clips. There's supposed to be 2 clips on either side. I'll show you when I get it down. Right here and right here, they provide you with these little nubs that hit the cover on the box, and I decided to not install those. The risk is that someone will crank it up too far, then you'll have to take the cover off to, unwrap it. But if you don't put those things on, you can crank it up even further. So anyway, that's it. Done. This is the window that we just did, and it's pretty narrow, so you can hold both of the uprights with both hands pretty easily. These larger windows, you can't. So do yourself a favor and get some heavy-duty duct tape. This is that black AC duct tape, and tape the uprights to the top of the box once you have everything drilled. And this way you'll be able to position it just right under the window, you'll see in a minute, and then lift it into place to mark your holes. You can lower it back down and then pull it right back up. Makes the job a lot easier if you're doing it alone. I decided to put this window into really high speed because all I really wanted to show you is how functional it is when you have a wider window that you can't reach the rails alone. That duct tape really worked great. It also helps hold the box up against the wall like that. I had a couple of them where the duct tape failed and it just was a pain, but for the most part this worked really, really well. And like I mentioned, I only really needed my wife to help me with just that one window. See how you can just lift it right up and into place, and it works out great. On this window, I decided to go ahead and drill all the holes. The key here is just don't drill the holes with the shutter in the down position, because you will cake all that concrete dust right into the edges of the shutter, and it's impossible to get out. And also in this video you can see how I use the blower to blow all that out. I mentioned that you could use water, and that would probably be fine, but the blower just seemed to work really well. And if you're installing these on a wood frame house, of course it'd be totally different, but you'd still be blowing out the sawdust. Anyway, so thanks as always for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps support the channel. And if the spirit moves you to leave a comment, I would really appreciate that. I really enjoy the comments. Well, I enjoy most of the comments. Actually, even the bad comments I kind of enjoy. And I try to be really nice to those people too. But I reply to all my comments, and I really do appreciate you watching. So thanks, and see you next time.